Welcome back, everybody. This is Andrew DFS coming at you with the Week 7 DraftKings competition breakdown. We're going to dive into the Millie Maker contest, talk about lineup strategies. But before I get any further, just wanted to give a shout out to FFMetrics.com. I'm a correspondent on that site, and it's run by the brilliant RC Fisher, who's an independent scout, dives into the game tape every single week, produces the best fantasy advice, best handicapping advice. So if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to check out FFmetrics.com. Follow us on Twitter at FFmetrics. All right, now let's talk about the winner of last week's Millie Maker competition. Username DDry. Congratulations, you won $1,000,000. This is awesome. Hope you get to do something crazy with that money. And basically, as in contrast to the week before, D-Dry is probably a more serious player. The week before, the user only submitted one lineup. Here, D-Dry had about, I think, over 100. So definitely using a model, definitely, doing his homework every single week. So let's dive into this one. Starts at top with a stack of Desmond Ritter. Are you kidding me? Desmond Ritter won a Millie Maker competition. That is incredible. And that stack involved not only Drake London, but Kyle Pitts. And because the Atlanta passing game has such negative public perception around it, which rightfully so it should. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm not trying to change that narrative. That resulted in very cheap plays. You can see London under $5,000. Kyle Pitts, fourth overall pick 3 years ago, 3,500. I mean, that's nuts. And that this has to be the most like ROI that a QB with a top receiver, top tight end has ever produced. So, congrats for figuring that one out. And what's happening in Atlanta is basically, long story short, they're taking away Bijan. Defenses are taking away Bijan and the running game and basically daring Ritter to throw. And half of his throws are close to being interceptions, and half of his throws go to Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and surprisingly, Jonnu Smith. So that's what's going on in that situation. It's not that Desmond Ritter has all of a sudden become a transcendent quarterback or anything. Okay, moving to the next stack in this lineup, running back, receiver, we have Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp. Since Cooper Kupp has been back, he's been on a tear, hogging up all of the targets. He dropped 30 here, and to be honest with you, 30 for 9,000 isn't that great. We talk about this all the time. We try to go for 4x, but it's enough. So 30's closer to the 3x range, right? Versus 4x. But you know, he made up for it by getting Kyron Williams to get 2,400. So to get 24 points. So that was amazing too. But I think one of the key things here, and we talk about this all the time, in the next player, this isn't in a stack, but Raheem Mostert, look how many people owned Raheem Mostert. 55%. But we talk about this, the chalk to bite and the chalk to fade. Raheem Mostert, all signs pointed to him getting all the carries since Devon A-Chain's out and everything. They're playing a weaker Carolina team. Kudos for saying, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to be contrarian in this spot. I'm already going contrarian with Desmond Ritter, Pitts, and London. You feel good about a chalky player, fire him up. Fire him up. There's no reason not to. Another good one last week would have been David Montgomery, but he got injured. So then all the people with Mostert rose up. So all the people with Montgomery went down because Montgomery was on the expensive side and he went down pretty early. Speaking of the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, coming off an injury, just crushed it against Tampa Bay. Dropped 33 points. Amazing. We've been waiting for this sort of like 33-point game from Amon-Ra for a while now. So happy he's able to pull that off. Then in the flex, Rashid Shaheed, not a highly owned player there. Again, he's trying to offset the chalk of Mostert here by saying, like, you know what, I believe in Mostert, but I need to get creative in other spots. So Shaheed's another one of them. On top of like having Pitts, who like Oh, sorry, not Pitts, but Ritter, who's like less than 5% owned. Now you have Shaheed, who's 1% owned, and he had a touchdown in that game. He's always a threat to score a TD, electric wide receiver. So props to him for pulling that off. And lastly, we had the Minnesota defense, who at first they were playing Justin Fields and holding their own, not doing anything crazy. Pull the backup in, and then Fields gets hurt, and that guy like just he's not ready for the NFL yet. It's really obvious. Minnesota got a defensive touchdown off of him, and basically that ended up being the best defensive play of the week. So props to D-Dry, congratulations. But now let's talk about how we can get there next week. So moving to week 7. Okay, let's look at the slate. So pulling that up right now. Okay, so we got 10 games on this slate, everybody. That means, we have a lot of people on bye. We have a lot of teams on bye. No Europe game, so we don't need to get up this week. I think the next Europe game, I don't remember the date, might be next week or the week after. We're gonna have a pretty big showdown with Kansas City and Miami, where Tyreek Hill makes his return against tries to get revenge against his old team. But anyways, let's focus on this week. Week 7, top of the list: Falcons Bucks divisional showdown going down here. Bucks favored by 2.5. Over under 37. Yikes, that is a bad over under. But I mean, these Falcons, like that, Ritter's been throwing the ball all over the place. I would caution that I think the Bucks have Commanders don't have the best pass D in the world, as evidence. They let Ritter throw 300 yards on them. I'd be careful with the Bucks. I think their pass D is better, despite what Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown did to them. Detroit's actually a good team. Atlanta, they can be had here. They can be had. So I wouldn't be as confident firing up Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Ritter here, but I could see the logic for it. On the flip side, the Atlanta defense is surprisingly good. They're, I think, number 11 against the pass, number 4 against the run, something like that, or maybe I have it flip-flop. Be careful playing these Bucks players against them. I love Rachaad White. That's probably where I would go, but I'd be very careful in playing Mike Evans or Chris Godwin against the Falcons, who all of a sudden have a pretty legit cornerback tandem with AJ Terrell and Jeff Okudah locking down receivers. Okay. Raiders Bears, another nasty game. Bears 2.5 point underdogs, and 37.5 is the over under. Again, like this is not like really getting much action here. And on top of everything, I think there's gonna be like bad wind in this game as well. So could this be like where you want to play like a Bears running back like Foreman, since Rashawn Johnson's out, and Bears D against the Brian Hoyer? Or a popular play is going to be playing Raiders defense against the Chicago backup Bagnett or whatever that's playing. So, I mean, it's tough. That's a crapshoot game. Browns Colts 3-point home underdogs, over under 41. Wow, I never thought I'd be so happy to see a 41 game total. So here, I mean, Browns have a very good defense, as evidenced by slowing down one of the most dynamic offenses in San Francisco last week and beating them. They're in a prime letdown spot here, especially with the Colts coming off a bad loss against Jacksonville. So it's tough. I mean, I wish that the Colts were playing an easier defense, because I think this is where we would want to fire up Minshew and Pittman. But Browns have a very good D. I could see playing Jerome Ford and Cleveland D here. I think that might be a really good combination to play. It's tough without knowing if Watson's going to play or not to recommend Cooper and or Njoku. If Watson goes, I'm definitely inclined to consider both in my lineup. Lions Ravens. Ravens 3-point favorites at home, over under 43. Man, can I get something over like 45 or something? Jeez, man. Okay, so we have the Lions kind of decimated right now with injuries. No Montgomery. Actually, they might not be as decimated as I originally thought because I think Gibbs is coming back. Laporta is slated to play, so they might be okay. But Ravens as home favorites, they play really damn well, guys. I'd be careful here. This is a spot where if Detroit can pull this game out, I think we have to really start taking them. I already look. I started the season not taking them seriously. Now I consider them a contender. That's where I move the needle. If they beat the Ravens at home, I'm gonna start really like putting them in like just one epsilon below um San Francisco, Eagles, and all the top teams. Like this game is going to say a lot about what we're going to get from the Lions. If they can go inside Baltimore and pull this off, props, amazing. You could tell by my tone that I'm not too confident that's going to happen, but you never know. Mark Andrews is going to be a chalky play here. His price is coming down relative to like where he used to be in 22 and 21 as like the second highest guy next to Kelsey. They used to both be like in the 6-7s range. Now he's trending in mid fives, low fives. Rightfully so. He's not doing much, so I totally get it. Next game on the slate, Bills Patriots. Patriots 7.5 point favorites at underdogs at home. Over under 40. What the hell else is new? Well, yeah, we're not getting 45 here, are we? So, I mean, for the past 3 weeks, we've been saying, oh, Belichick's going to bounce back. Like, they've been just getting blanked and ridiculed and waxed. Like, what else, man? Like, Mac Jones taking a safety to blow their, like, against the spread cover last week. Like, this team's just awful. We're hearing rumblings of Belichick not having a ceremonial departure, but getting fired. Kidding me? 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach. You're going to fire him? It is nuts. But hey, he can be as good as a coach as he wants, and we're seeing it here. You don't have a good QB. This is what happens. Anyways, I digress. Now, Josh Allen has a little shoulder injury that we don't know if he's 100%, 50%, whatever. He didn't look right against the Giants. They should have easily blown the doors off of him, but clearly there was something wrong with that offense, whether you can put that on Allen or not. This is a prime like comeback spot, not only for the Patriots but for the Bills. I'm sick and tired of thinking that Patriots are gonna come and have like this great defensive effort, and Mac Jones is gonna look like a total like doesn't know what he's doing back there type of guy. So, excuse me, needed a drink of water. Diggs and Allen would be the play here. I would recommend. I would also consider playing the Bills defense, but one thing to monitor, check. You guys have to see if Jack Jones is going to play for New England. If they're down Jack Jones, I think they're already out Judon. They're out Christian Gonzalez. Like that defense is really missing some pieces. But proceed with caution. Bills are kind of pissed, even though they barely pulled out against the Giants. That should have been a loss. So I'm sure they're going to come back a little motivated here. Commanders Giants. Giants 2.5 home underdogs. 37.5. Wow. This is a nasty freaking slate. So basically everything in the 10 o'clock slate, in the early slate, the 10-1, everything, the game totals are 43 or less. And like there's only one game 43. Everything's 41 and below. This is a ridiculous like early slate. So with the Commanders, they had a good showing against the Falcons, but I don't know that they come back and just start like passing all over the Giants or whatever. Like I think they're still on the shakier side. I could see the argument to play like Howell, McLaurin, whatever, have a stack like that, but I think I'd avoid it. Giants look good against the Bills. They might. It's not like Howell's like this crazy. I like him. I just don't know that he can pull off like two good performances back to back. The guy I like for Washington though, I like Brian Robinson. If it's one thing that you can do against the Giants, it's run. So Brian Robinson hasn't really been like getting crazy rushing stats. So maybe they're going to try to run the ball, control the game. So Brian Robinson, Commanders defense, I think could be a good option. And on the Giants side, slim pickings there. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. He gets a ton of targets, but the one thing to be really careful of, and I should have mentioned, there's going to be crazy winds here too. I think it's going to be upwards of 20 miles per hour. Definitely not conducive for a passing game, so it's going to be more like running game defense. That's what kind of scares me with Wandale in this one. But I mean, maybe you can argue because it's going to be so windy, it's going to be like short, quick passes to him. The guy gets a ton of targets and he's still priced under 4K. Like, that is ridiculous. Okay, let's move to the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games and um, hopefully get some better slates. We start off with Cardinals going inside Seattle. Seattle 8-point favorites at home. Over under 44.5. Hallelujah. We got some, we're above 43. Yeah, people have been targeting the Cardinals last week. Cup went crazy. Week before, Chase went crazy. Is this a Metcalf Lockett week? We don't know if Metcalf is hurt. We're going to play. It seems like he's trending towards a game time decision. If he does, Lockett's already chalky, but he's going to get way more chalky after that. I think this is a good Kenneth Walker play too, even though he's also going to be chalky himself. You can go Kenneth Walker, Seattle, to try to control Cardinals who are starting to regress. I see Hollywood Brown trending as a top play as well. I'd be a little careful. I think Seattle at home, Seattle anywhere, they have a pretty good D now. Like, it's not like before. They still don't know how to stop the run, but by and large, they have a good defense. So I'd be careful, especially their pass D. It's not like last year. So I don't know that Dobbs and Hollywood can just have their way with these guys. But I will say they are divisional rivals, and we saw what happened when no one expected the Rams to freaking throw all over them, and then all of a sudden Puka Nacua was born. I think we can argue that Stafford is 10 times the quarterback that Dobbs is, despite Dobbs exceeding all expectations. And Puka Nacua is honestly better than what I've never seen Hollywood Brown play as well as Puka Nacua played in a 4-game stretch. So I think there's a talent aspect too. So I'd be careful. Next, Steelers Rams. Speaking of Puka and Stafford, we get the Steelers going inside LA, 44.5. Awesome. Like, we're not in the low 40s anymore. I love it. Rams look like they're 3.5-point favorites at home, rightfully so. They've been playing really well. And yeah, this is where you want to fire up Stafford. I mean, there's no Kyren Williams. There's going to be a heavy dose of the passing attack. Puka's in play here too. Last week it was, Kyren kind of like, there was more emphasis on the run game. So the offense goes Kupp, then Puka, then everybody else. So it was just Kupp last week. Puka couldn't really eat. So this is a good spot to play Puka if you want to get different and not pay up for Kupp. Or you can go Stafford Kupp here too. On the Steelers side, it's tough, but there is one really sneaky play here. So Pat Freiermuth, or Muth, is going to be out for this game. And basically, they have two tight ends behind him. They have Darnell Washington, who is a rookie out of Georgia, who honestly, like, he could be like a touchdown like machine. Like, he's huge. He, like, if you see him play on the field, he's the biggest guy lining up. Like, he just looks gigantic. He's the definition of a red zone threat, but he doesn't really, in college, he kind of like held his own athletically. Like, I wouldn't say he was the most athletic person, but like, it didn't really like show that like how like slow he was there. But now, like, he just doesn't look spry. Like, he doesn't look quick enough for the NFL. So I think he's going to be more of a blocking tight end or whatever in the NFL. That's where it seems like he's going, which is fine, and an occasional like touchdown scorer. But where I would want to, the guy I'm more interested in is Connor Hayward, who he's priced at 2,500, guys. And if you play him and that guy just pulls in 4 catches, which is what he did last week when Muth went out, might be good. I mean, Rams are not that great against tight end. So if you're trying to play the Kupp Stafford stack, you can go cheap on tight end and get different there. 2,500 is a joke. That's what we pay for defenses for the tight end position. So the fact that you're gonna get someone that getting enough snaps to justify that salary, fire away. Okay, Chargers, Chiefs. Now we have we have the highest point total in the slate, and that's why Mahomes and Keenan Allen and even Kelsey, these guys are going to be very, very chalky. Be very careful. 47.5. Chiefs 5.5 point favorites at home. Now, Chargers always play the Chiefs close, so be careful with this one. I say be careful in the sense that I think that the Chargers D is they have the talent. They're gonna get up for this game. I feel like the Chargers always play up and down to their competition. So I see them keeping this close. I don't see a shootout here. And honestly, I don't think Casey is like really capable of a shootout right now. So I don't want to pay up for a Mahomes Kelsey stack. I'm honestly scared of it. Like, I rather play Stafford Cup. I know what I'm getting. With Mahomes Kelsey, sure, I can get lucky and get that like 3-4 touchdown game, but man, it hasn't been great for that combo. Not great ROI. Perhaps this is the week where they blank the Chargers and show them who's boss. But I don't know. Chargers are coming off a loss. They have a bad taste in their mouth Monday night. This is going to be a good game. This is a good game. I picked the Chargers to just win this outright, but it can go either way. It can really go either way. And last game on our slate, Packers Broncos. So we have the Broncos 1 point home underdogs, 45 point total, which is kind of crazy considering like how like underwhelming both offensives are, that it's sort of 45 and not in the low 40s. You have Jordan Love going inside Denver, trying to, Denver's one of the worst defenses against QBs, wide receivers, name it. They just suck against everything. So you just fire up all these players. Denver's going to have very good weather too. So there's going to be like no wind. It's going to be like 70 degrees. So like this is a really good, like, this is favorable for weather. So if you want to go with a Watson Love stack, I'm all for it. I would have loved Aaron Jones here. This is such a like Aaron Jones explosion day, but we don't know if he's playing, and you got to be careful. And I wouldn't recommend playing Dylan. He just looks awful. So on the Broncos side, I really don't see anybody I like. Packers D is also not a joke. So I think at the end of the day, I can see the Broncos just pulling this out based off of like based on them like just losing against the Jets, coming off their bye. Packers are also coming off the bye, and they also lost against the Raiders too. But I don't know, after losing like that to your old coach, we're going to find out very cool. If the Broncos drop this game or even get waxed here, I think that we're going to probably see Wilson maybe benched or some major changes there. We've been hearing rumblings about the Denver fire sale. This is the game that can bring this team together or rip them apart. Okay, time to do our favorite part of the show, everybody. Let's go inside DraftKings and start building up some lineups and talking through all the player options a little bit more. So we could see the most expensive play is going to be Mahomes. He's also the chalkiest play at QB. He's going up against the 32nd ranked passing. So Chargers are allowing the most points to QBs. I think that's somewhat skewed with like what happened week 1 against the Chargers. Or maybe it was week 2. I don't recall. No, it was week 1 when Tua and Tyreek like exploded on them. So they have that on their resume as well. I mean, Casey's just not there right now offensively. I'm not saying they won't get there, but I just haven't really seen evidence of them like being the well-oiled machine they are. Allen's a good play too. I like him, but again, expensive. And he's coming off an injury going inside New England where there's going to be chance of rain. If I knew Allen was healthy, I'd push for him, but not here. And then you have Herbert, who is going up against a really good KCD. Folks, if KC makes a push and becomes like dominant out of nowhere, it's going to be their defense. Their defense looks really freaking good this year. Lamar Jackson against Detroit. I could see this one. I could really see this one pop off. We haven't had like a crazy, crazy Lamar game yet. So Lamar's going to be my expensive play this week where we have Lamar. And if you want to go like tight end, you can go. So we talked about how Andrews. Oh, I said he was mid fives. He's high fives. If you want to go Andrews, you can play him here at the tight end spot, or you can go Zay. You can play big play Zay and and then you can even have a bring back piece with Gibbs because Montgomery's going to be out. I think Craig Reynolds is out too. This might be like quick check downs to Gibbs. I think this could be a good spot. I just wish that price was a little bit lower, guys. The 6,300 is not it for Gibbs, and he's not chalky, which is good. But like, dang, like that is pretty nuts. And if you want to go like Jackson Flowers, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can do that too. But Baltimore, I don't know. We tried to attack them earlier this season, but we weren't really getting far. You can see that they're pretty good against the pass, so I'd be careful on that. And plus, St. Brown just exploded. Maybe this is Sam Laporta week, but you can see here Baltimore's number one against tight ends. This is tough. If you're gonna play a bring back piece, I would probably play Gibbs, or you go Jackson Flowers, Andrews, and just think that they're gonna blank them. But Detroit's really good against the run, so if that scares you off Lamar or even like the Baltimore running backs, I don't blame you. Okay, so Fields is out. Now my mid play of the week, Stafford, the mid QB, but very chalky. Very chalky, not chalky, sorry, very expensive receiver in Cup. This is a pretty, this is now looking like, you add these two pieces together, 16,000, you're paying 8,000 a piece for them. I think they can both perform. I think you can get 16 grand of ROI. So basically, this costs 16, right? You need these two to throw up 48 points together. 16 times 4. I'm bad at math. 64 points together. Yeah, that was really bad. Um Forgive me, it's the morning. 64 points. Yeah, I think that's possible. It's hard. We're not trying to get averages. I'm not trying to go for 20 or 40. I'm trying to see, is it possible? Yes. Is it it's not a 90% shot. Nobody has a 90% shot of getting that explosive week, but this is certainly within the range of outcomes to get 64 points out of these guys. So, okay, we talked about Stafford. Goff, I would avoid. I could see a case for Geno. He's gonna be a little more on the chalkier side, so you want to play it safe. But yeah, I could see you going Geno Lockett, and that can sort of like offset the Kenneth Walker people. But if Metcalf is ruled out, people are gonna fire up Lockett like crazy, and at that point, I might be more inclined to play Walker to have sort of like that hedge against Lockett, because I think he'll become the chalkiest player in the slate, and rightfully so. I mean, it is a good line. It is a good matchup for him with Cardinals just letting QBs and wide receivers go crazy the past 2 weeks. Next player on the slate, Jordan Love. So I could see an argument for Jordan here, where you go Jordan and play Watson at receiver. Like Denver has really not been able to hold their own against like QBs and receivers this season. So I would not mind this at all. If you're scared of Patrick Surtain and think that Watson's going to be gobbled up by him, Romeo Dobbs hasn't really been has been a little bit quiet, and he's going to be on the cheaper side. So you can definitely go him if you want to save a little bit on salary and go with a more of a puke stack, cheap QB, cheap receiver. Um, and shout out to another DFS podcast, Al Smizzle, that coined that term. I should give credit where credit is due there. Um, Sam How so we don't know if Deshaun Watson's playing. If Deshaun Watson's a go, I'd be interested in it. But let's pretend he's not playing. If he's a go, I could see like Watson Cooper. I could see Ford Brown's defense. Like that there's stuff you can do with Cleveland. The only thing is they're coming off a really, really impressive victory, and Indy's coming off a really, really bad loss. So just things balance out in the NFL, right? Daniel Jones, we don't know if he's playing, but if he is, Washington pass defense is terrible. But there's also going to be 20-mile-per-hour winds. I don't like Daniel Jones in 0-mile-per-hour winds. I don't know that I'm going to like him in 20-mile-per-hour. So pass. Sam Howell, he could he could come and slice and dice these guys. That's not unreasonable, but I would pass on him. Baker Mayfield against the Falcons defense, which is surprisingly decent. No, thank you. Josh Dobbs, I mean, he's really outperformed expectations, but I feel like these past 2 weeks he's slowly coming back down to reality that he's not a starter. He's a really, really good backup. I think this is the sort of spot where we could see someone of Dobbs's caliber just playing. Garoppolo's out. Minshew, I would have loved this play if it was against the weak defense, but big no thank you to Cleveland. Desmond Ritter, maybe, maybe. I think Tampa's not a joke on D, despite what their ranking is there at where they're 20th or whatever, so they're below average. But I don't know. Ritter's hard to trust. I totally see the logic for it. He passed 300 yards 2 straight games. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's really tough. Tyrod Taylor, I can see an argument for, but again, bad weather. Pickett, I'd avoid. And I think that's all I want to talk about here. PJ Walker, let's talk about him. Let's see what he did last week points wise. So he had 4,800. He had 4,800 salary. He only threw up 5 points last week. So yeah, I mean, I'd be careful with him. But it was against San Francisco. Now he's going in a dome against Indy, where they don't really have they're not really that great against QBs. But yeah, I'm not for it. Okay, running back time. So for running backs, something feels off with Eckler. I don't know if like he's primed for a bounce back, or is he playing like a little like cautiously? And we could say that maybe that was his first game back. Like, is he playing a little cautiously because of the contract or whatnot? Is he a little injured? That's a hefty price to pay against the KC team. If this was a bad defense against the run, maybe, but yeah, Casey's really good against the pass and run, so be careful. Saquon, he started getting a lot of the carries, but it's going to be I mean, this is kind of primed for a Saquon game. In his first game back against Buffalo, he got 24 carries, which is really good. 5 targets. Um, yeah, he could definitely explode here. And the more I talk about it, like it's going to be bad weather. So perhaps this is going to be a Saquon game. Washington's not bad against the run, though. They got a really good D line. And guess what the Giants have? A very bad O line. Not a good combination. Atlanta actually has a really good O line, and they couldn't get the run game going against Washington at all. So just be careful. Josh Jacobs could be this could be Jacobs's like bounce back week against the Bears. I think we also have slight we have to be careful of conditions here as well. But yeah, I mean, he's getting you can see his carries are starting to ramp up, and maybe that 9 is just due to them getting blown up. So yeah, I mean, he's getting 20 carries a game. Raiders should be in this game, and Chicago is really not that good against the run. Jacobs always like just has these like late season pops. So um I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Just it depends. If you're feeling the running backs, you got to go cheaper on the receivers. If you're feeling the expensive receivers, you got to go cheaper on the running backs, right? Like we can't, unfortunately, as much as you would love a lineup with Saquon Barkley, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Patrick Mahomes, yeah, that doesn't fit. That's the point of DFS. You got to sacrifice and see what you feel like has the bigger chance to pop. Who is dropping 50 points is the question. Which one of these players is having the 40 burger, the 50 burger? That's how you should lean. You should always start like, who do I feel so good about? Like this matchup is too good. Screw the chalk. I'm just going in. Bijan Robinson, man, talk about a cold streak with Bijan. I mean, he hasn't really been doing all that well since he since like week 1, right? Like he started off 2024, then he's basically like 3 games over 20, 3 games under 15. So that's tough. He has never once 4x'd his salary. Has he even 3x'd it? He got close here. He's kind of close here too. So like it's tough. I don't know that Bijan's just gonna freaking explode against Tampa. Especially they're splitting carries with he's splitting carries with Algier, so that one's a little bit tough. Kenneth Walker. Arizona's terrible against the run, and guess what Seattle likes to do? They like to feed Walker. He's been on a tear, and that's the only scary part. Look at that 2-2-1-1. Like he has been really crushing it on the ground. This could be like a ball control game for Seattle. That could be the script. So if you want to go Seattle D plus Kenneth Walker, I recommend that play. That one's good. Um Aaron Jones, you have to like this is so tough because this is a 1 o'clock game too. If you have an indication that this guy's willing to go or ready to go, I could totally see him like just crushing. Like with the one game where he was healthy against Chicago, Jordan Love was really utilizing him, and I don't know. Question I can't I'm not entirely sure if he's gonna go or not, but it's a great matchup. Jonathan Taylor, pass. I think Zach Moss is the lead back in Indy right now. Um, James Cook, that was a joke. Taylor's still the lead back, but Zach Moss looks incredible. Um, James Cook, 6,400. I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. They're really starting to like push Latavius Murray, and I think I even like saw another running back get into that mix too. Like, I love James Cook, but I don't know that I like him in this spot. Gibbs, 6,300. He's not going to be a chalky play, folks, and there's no Montgomery. And I think that they're and Craig Reynolds questionable to play. Guys, like if there's ever a time, if you're a Gibbs believer, you better believe this has to be the game. I mean, it's not the best matchup with going into Baltimore, but look at that. 9 targets against Seattle. Um, yeah, if Goff's feeling that heat and it's just a bunch of checkdowns to Gibbs, that could be really interesting. I love the. I would avoid Zach Moss. I don't trust against Cleveland. That is really tough. But Pacheco, fire him up. Case Chargers are really not that great against the run, and this can be sort of like the ball control game where like you play KCD, Isaiah Pacheco, and KCD's cheap. So just be careful. Pacheco's chalky, but again, I think this is the type of chalk that you're okay with. Brian Robinson, another good play at 5,800. So like, why am I gonna? If I feel good about these guys, like why am I gonna pay up for Josh Jacobs? If I feel just as good about Pacheco at 61 or even Brian Robinson, I think both of them could easily outscore Josh Jacobs. Like then Stevenson pass, no bad game script. Javonte Williams, yeah, I don't even know if he's a starter anymore. I love the guy last year. He got injured and yeah, he's just not it right now. Um, Dylan, if Jones isn't a go, I can see it, but like he hasn't done good in his um spots when Jones was out anyway. So You have Harris, who's going up again. I just avoid Najee. He's not really good for fantasy purposes. Jerome Ford though is. Jerome Ford, look at this guy. Against guys, this is against San Francisco. This guy put up 17 rushes for 84 yards, 5 yards per carry. You guys realize how good San Francisco is on D, right? Like that is nuts to me. And I know the output didn't show, but I love that 5,100, and you get to play Cleveland D. Like you can stack him if you don't want to play Cleveland D, fine. But like Hunt's questionable. You don't know what you're getting with Watson. They're gonna run the ball here. Like Jerome Ford's gonna eat. I love Rashad White. I will never tell you to fade him, despite how well the Falcons are playing against running backs. But yeah, this looks like a tough spot for him. And just going down the list, yeah, Detroit's really good against the run, so I don't know if I want to dabble with like a Gus Edwards or Justice Hill here. Deontay Foreman, there's that's another good cheap play. So guys, if you really want to go cheap at running back and have a good feeling about like about expensive receivers, then you can go like Foreman and Ford, and that whew, barely paying 5,000 on average for each. You're not even paying that actually. So okay, that was the running backs. Let's talk about receivers. Receivers are always fun because they explode. Cooper Kupp 9,500 always has that potential to go for 40, 50 points. Stephon Diggs gets insane targets. He's going inside like rainy weather, and but if those top two cornerbacks are out for New England, fire him up. I think he's fine. Keenan Allen, I mean, since the guy is a target machine. So Eckler came back and it dropped to 11 targets. He only had 5 against Vegas, which was a little weird. But look at that 10, 20, 11. They had a bye week, week 5. Like, pull this, like, 5 out. Like, and man, like, this guy is just incredible. And you can see he got close to a 50-point week against Minnesota. But this isn't the spot for him. Yeah, I don't feel great about his matchup. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That this one could be tough, but I could see the logic behind it, and let me tell you guys why. I see the logic because Montgomery's out. So if Montgomery's out, that means that Goff's going to be passing a lot more. And if we don't believe, like, I don't think Gibbs is going to go back there and just like freaking dominate on the run. I would recommend playing him as a like, he's going to catch all these dink and dunk passes. Puka Nacua, who didn't really have a great game against Arizona, right? He dudded out, but against Philly, where they were passing the ball a lot, he had 11 targets. Again, he's second on the pecking order. If you don't want Kupp, I think Nacua is a perfectly fine option as well. Just limited upside to get to like 30, 40. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Atlanta. I trust Atlanta's pass D. Like I don't think these guys are exploding at all against them. Metcalf is injured, so I'd pass on that. Pittman, I can't see exploding against Cleveland, who's number one against receivers, and he has Minshew as quarterback. DJ Moore without Fields, pass. Jacoby Myers, maybe I could see that as a possibility, and we skipped over Adams too. It's just tough. Both of them have Hoyer. I'd probably lean more on Myers because I think they'll be close points wise, and I'd rather take the cheaper salary with Myers. Then Cooper, you have to watch if Watson's gonna play. If he does, he becomes a good lineup. It becomes a good matchup. Lockett at 6,000, not terrible. I mean, that's a good price, especially if Metcalf's out, but he's gonna become really chalky. Gabe Davis, yeah, I don't know. This guy's like definition of DFS, so I like calling him every week in the sense that like he's either popping or he's not doing much at all. So look at that. Like he's either getting 20 or he's like 4, 10, 15 where he doesn't make it up. So it's tough. And he's a crapshoot. If you want to gamble and put a Allen stack with Gabe Davis or something, go for it. But he's the opposite of consistent. Zay Flowers could be a good play here. and he could offset a chalky Mark Andrews. Christian Watson, if you're scared of Sertan, don't play him. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. They'll probably move him around, and I don't know that Sertan's going to follow Watson all over the field. Pass on Pickens, tough matchup, and yeah, I just can't see him going crazy there. McLaurin, he's going to be chalky, but again, guys, it's going to be bad weather, so be careful. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. Seattle's allowing a lot of. They're number one against receivers, but I think a lot of that has to do with that week one against Tutu and Puka, where they just exploded. I think they were missing a couple corners too in that game, so they're fully ready to go. They did well against Cincinnati, if that gives you any comfort. So Jamar Chase and T didn't really go off on them. Drake London. Let's just dive into this guy. I mean, look at these targets and this price, man. Wow. Like, he had this bad week one where he had one target, but since then, he's getting at least 6 targets. Last game, 12. But the thing is, now he's going to be chalky as heck, so you got to be really careful with him. Um, I like it. I like the matchup, but I totally understand if you want to fade the chalk with Drake London because it could easily be a day where Atlanta just duds and doesn't move the ball and just gets completely obliterated by Tampa. That's the type of quarterback Desmond Ridder is. Romeo Dobbs is a good, like, if you don't want to play Watson, you're scared of Sertan, I think he can have a good game. I would avoid any KC receiver. They're just so inconsistent. They're also crapshoots. Dotson hasn't been really doing anything, but again, this isn't the time and place for Dotson to get cute with Dotson. Let's see, is there anybody else I want to talk about? If Metcalf can't go, maybe JSN, Jackson Smith and Najigba, maybe he starts getting going too. Like, this is Seattle's first round pick. They're gonna try to push him if Metcalf's out. He had so he had 6 targets the week before, 5 targets against Cincy. This could be a good spot for him at 3,900 if Metcalf's ruled out. Again, if Metcalf is ruled out, don't just play him. Jamison Williams, I feel like what he did last week was just one catch fluke. I love Wilson, but I think, yeah, Seattle, not against Seattle. Despite that favorable matchup, I'd be careful. Who else do I like down here? Van Jefferson, Rondale. Maybe Rondale. No, I just don't want to play a Cardinal against the Seahawk. Jake Bobo could be a surprising guy. This guy was like a touchdown machine in the preseason. I love watching this guy play, but he just doesn't get enough volume. Just want to give him a little shout out here. Oh, so I'm based in LA and he's from UCLA, so gotta show my SoCal guys some love. Um, I glossed over Wandale. Seems like 3,800. Again, bad weather, but short passes. It could be short passes to Wandale. So we're gonna do tight end and then defense, and then we'll start talking about chalky plays, and we'll call it a wrap here. So tight ends. Tight ends, Kelsey, 8 grand. Oh my god. You guys think he's gonna drop 32? 32 points? Oh man, look how nasty this has been. But he is heating up. He is heating up, so you can say that he's trending in the right direction. Is this the game where he explodes? I mean, to be honest with you, I could go cheat. You can make a case to play him. You can make a case. It's just he has to explode. So I don't know that he's gonna do that, honestly. The reason why I can say make a case to play him is there's a lot of like $5,000, $6,000 players that you could play to make room for Kelsey in the lineup. But yeah, then that's the most expensive play. But if we scroll all the way down here, there's a little player here, Cameron Hayward, who, yeah, I don't even know his freaking name. Connor Hayward. Sorry, Cameron Hayward. I think that guy's a on defense for the Steelers. Connor Hayward, who when Muth went down, he got 4 targets. Guys, first of all, Rams aren't that good against the tight end. If he somehow like this is 5 points for 2,500. I know we talk about 4x getting 10 points would have been fantastic, but this is a 2,500 player. It allows you to make room for a Kelsey or someone else like a Eckler if you feel good about him, like a Cooper Kupp, like a Diggs. Like this is the type of player that you play. I mean, look at his face, man. He just wants to go in the freaking game. He wants you to play him. Connor Hayward wants you. Look at that freaking face. So yeah. Sorry, I went on a Connor Hayward rampage. I'm gonna laugh when he has no catches, but again, it's just $2,500. I'm okay losing on that to make room for explosive players. 2,500 points, $2,500 salary player with a chance. I love it. Mark Andrews, good matchup against Detroit. He's gonna be chalky. I'm for it. Like I think this can be an Andrews week. Laporta, I'd be very careful about. Darren Waller, I mean, has he crossed 20 points once for me to even like say something nice about him? No. Brutal. No, just guys, this is name. Like, bring his salary down. I'll consider. I'll reconsider Waller when he's in the 4,000 range. 5,000. That's a little much for me right now. Komet, maybe. And the reason why I say maybe like that is I think the backup might like target this guy a little more, but it's rough. He's just so inconsistent. And there are cheaper plays like I don't know. You can play Kyle Pitts, for example, who all of a sudden with Atlanta's new like formidable passing game, like he doesn't look that bad of an option. 15, 14. He's doing what he's supposed to do at his salary. So yeah, if he has a game like this, because Kyle Pitts has the name though, his salary is going up more and more. Even though Jonnu Smith has been a freaking target machine. Atlanta's like running with 2 tight ends all the time. They're in 22 personnel a lot, I think. Look at this, guys. 6, 8, 6, 7, 5. Like, come on, dude. This guy is nuts. That is such good target volume. And then, like, why would I want to play Kelsey and instead of that? You know, it's half the freaking price. I know what I'm getting. I'm getting my 15 points, and I can focus on players that are going to explode. Then worry about Kelsey, like might explode, like who might explode. You know, Gerald Everett, pass on him. David Njoku, if Watson's a go, I'd consider it. I'm afraid with PJ Walker at quarterback. Luke Musgrave could be a good option too against Denver, who's allowing the most points to tight ends. And then Parham's always a sneaky like tight end play that could take away points from Keenan Allen. So that's a good offset for people playing Allen. So what I like to do when I formulate this lineup is when I look at chalky players, like for example, if I see Mahomes is chalky, okay, how do points go away from Mahomes if Pacheco scores a rushing touchdown? Unfortunately, in this case, they're both chalky, so the offset doesn't really work. But at least like if Pacheco gets a touchdown, you take away points from Kelsey and Mahomes, who are both chalky. So you like kind of like take points away from the pool. Michael Mayer has been getting more targets as of late, or has it been literally one game? So he had 3 targets against Green Bay and then 6 targets against New England. Maybe Hoyer will target him more. It's tough to tell. But yeah, I don't know that I'm super excited about him. And then we talked about already the cheap play at tight end. I'm gonna say his name right. Connor Hayward, not Cameron Hayward. So he's 2,500. Consider him in your lineup, and we can move on once we find him. Boy, there's a lot of people that are just 2,500. 2,500 is like the minimum. Is there 2,000? No. So that's as cheap as you can get. Okay, defense time. So defenses, we Bills against Mac Jones, like that's a really good spot, but Bills lost a lot on defense too. Like I don't know. I don't know that I want to pay up 4,200. Rams against Pittsburgh. I don't love the price there. I like the play. I just don't like the 39. Same thing with Vegas. Vegas isn't these world beaters on defense for me to pay 3,800 pass. I could see a case for the Packers, but I don't know that I don't know that the Broncos are just gonna bend over so easily. Um, Bucks against Falcons. I mean, Ritter's a turnover machine. Like he can easily have like five pick sixes. I'm not kidding. Like he's really erratic with the ball. So I could see that. Commanders with Brian Robinson. Yeah, you can pair them. Colts I'd pass on, but Browns I would play. I would go Browns Jerome Ford. That's a pretty reasonable price for a Browns defense that's coming off a pretty like they whooped not whooped, but they held their own against SF. They won the freaking game. Like that should be they should be more expensive going against Gardner Minshew, I would think. Seattle is also on the cheaper side that I like. Steelers I'd avoid. Giants D, pass on that. Bears, I could see you playing Bears over like Bears in Vegas. Like both of those defenses aren't really that great. Like I could see a Bears Foreman stack for Bears fans out there. Like I don't think that's unreasonable. And if you want to get like dirt cheap, Chargers always play KC well. I would not do Patriots against Buffalo. That's like you're asking for negative points. But KC just doesn't look right. So I can see an argument to either play KC because they have the good defense or the Chargers. Like both are good, like cheap plays that I think you can get like 6, 7 points out of, which at this salary is not terrible because you get to open up for other positions. Okay, so that's a wrap for the DraftKings. Let's go inside Fantasy Sports Logic, which is an affiliate of ours. They have this is an optimizer website, and what we're gonna use this for on this pod specifically is to just look at ownership projections. But this this optimizer here has been used to win Millie Maker contests this year and been really they've won two and they've been very close to winning others, just on the cusp there. So definitely consider this if you need a different type of optimizers. That's fantasysportslogic.com, one of our partners. So let's look at ownership percentages for everybody. So I'll sort this by ownership percentage right here. My machine core response. So Terry McLaurin is going to be the chalkiest play. That's chalk that I want no part of, just given the weather. I know Giants are bad against the receivers, but yeah. And McLaurin hasn't exploded. There's evidence behind it, but yeah. Then you have Pacheco at 45%. I mean that's really high for Pacheco too. That might just that kind of scares me away a little bit. But that's a type of chalk that I like. Same with Andrews. Like I'm okay going with Pacheco and Andrews. Running backs and tight ends I'm fine with because I don't expect them to go for 50. Like I'm just trying to get 20, 30 out of them. I'm trying to keep pace with my running backs, tight ends. My receivers are the ones that I'm trying to get like a 40, 50 burger out of. Hollywood Brown, yeah, he's chalky as well and going against Seattle. Um, QB wise, you can see that Patrick Mahomes is the chalkiest QB on the slate. Drake London, Keenan Allen, not too far off behind them. But tight end wise, Mark Andrews is the chalkiest. Then Kelsey's right there after him. And then for defenses, I think it's a pretty even board for defenses. So this isn't too bad. Like Cleveland, Baltimore, Giants. So yeah, I could see that Baltimore play too. We didn't talk about it. Yeah, it's cheap, and if you think Detroit's gonna stumble there, why not? But yeah, I don't know. Detroit's looked really good, so it's a little bit shaky, but hey, that's what the price is all about. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you all for listening. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. Follow us on Twitter at FFMetrics. Thank you all, and good luck with all of your betting endeavors this week, whether that's DFS, redraft fantasy, dynasty, or just sports handicapping in general. Good luck. Hope you guys make a bunch of money, and see you all next week.